Our Sprint Unlimited camera, which traveled over and across the track, had a drive cable, not a cable, but a piece of nylon and fabric rope that helped to move that camera along its catenary. Now here it is, overhanging the track at turn 4. The first car coming is going to be Kyle Busch. That's going to catch in his right front wheel well, and it's just going to whipsaw the fender behind the wheel well. Now, where is it going to go? Watch Mark Martin right here. He's going to come along, pick up that cable. It's going to do a little damage to the left rear of his car. There it is in the air. It's going to catch on Mark's car, and then it's going to go underneath Marcus Ambrose's car. You see the camera getting kicked, the cable getting kicked up into the air.
Kyle Busch, who has led 18 laps and running over the cable, we certainly apologize for that camera fiber causing a problem, but they went to work right away.
Well, I knew those guys would get that thing prepared. All the teams bring fabricators, Chris. They come in case there's some sort of damage they have to go behind the wall and fix. You throw them a project like this, and they get happy about it. They say, we'll fix this darn car.
In 2013, when leading the race, the Coca-Cola 600, the longest race for NASCAR, the cable that Fox actually had to present this brand new camera fell on the racetrack and hit none other than race leader Kyle Busch's car. This would immediately ensue a red flag for a cleanup and repair of the camera, and Kyle Busch was actually able to repair his car under the red flag. In NASCAR, you shouldn't be able to repair your car under the red flag, but I guess NASCAR made special circumstances for Kyle Busch due to this incident. I mean, how often does a camera actually break and fall onto a race car? It's pretty rare.
Contact between Biffle and Newman. Yes, Biffle came back on the track. Newman was right there. Got into him and hard into that guardrail and the tires. Sends him back out in the middle of the track here into McDowell. See the rear end housing loose from the car, and then it goes over the fence. But that last impact for McDowell was the one that probably knocked the wind out of him.
What a piece of driving by David Reagan, sliding through there between those crashed cars.
The 2014 race at Watkins Glen saw one of, if not the most destructive crash on the short chute we've ever seen at that facility. And it's when Ryan Newman and Michael McDowell caused a massive wreck that would ensue Michael McDowell's number 95 Caleb Ford to go flying into the guardrail, busting through the guardrail, and breaking the entire rear suspension of that race car. It is something so dangerous, and it still blows my mind today that we use guardrails as protection. Doesn't matter the track, there are still multiple tracks with dangerous areas. And Watkins Glen has definitely worked on this area, and we haven't seen a bad accident like this since, but this was by far one of the most horrific crashes we've ever seen at that part of the track. But in 2009, there was also another part, and we were in a commercial break when it happened, and when we came back, the chaos ensued during the replays. If this isn't the biggest fail and the biggest way to lose the Great American Race, I don't know what is. Sterling Marlin, with easily one of the fastest cars on that afternoon, was leading the race with only a couple laps to go. But he had a little bit of damage on his right front fender after the accident that involved him going to the red flag. So he decided to get out of his race car under the red flag, take his window net down, and walk around to the side of his race car to pull the fender out to make sure he was able to keep going to finish the race. That is something you cannot do in NASCAR, and it ended up costing him because he had to go to the back of the field and restart last on the last restart of the race and was not able to win the Daytona 500.
Highs of highs, and the 2 goes around. Brad Keselowski, a lot of damage to the front end of that car. Keselowski into the grass.
I gave him room, didn't I, Joe? You came up in front of him. Straight back to the garage here.
Disagree with this a couple times. Here he is passing the 11 to Denny Hamlin. Looks like he almost wiggles and comes up in front of him. I don't know if he needs to get out of the gas or what. And the 11 just basically makes contact. But I can't believe Denny just ran into him on purpose. We're going to have to see that look a few more times.
Well, you heard the spotter. He said, did I give him room? And he said, well, you came up in front of him. Right there, he got loose, slowed his momentum down. The 11 was coming, and that's why the problem. Keselowski thought he was clear, but when he was moving up the racetrack, he wasn't anticipating getting loose like that. He got crazy loose, had to lift off the throttle, I would imagine. Denny Hamlin got in the back of it.
When racing for a championship at Kansas, Brad Keselowski, who was in the round of 12, was trying to make it out of the round of 12 with some great finishes. And unfortunately for Keselowski, this wreck would basically eliminate him. He was unable to move on after this accident. He would come off turn number 4 and get loose. Hamlin would have nowhere to go, and Keselowski would be a victim of crashing at Kansas. In 2010, Kyle Busch was trying to go 3 for 3, winning all 3 Bristol night races in the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series. He was able to do so, but it wasn't without making any rivalries. He intentionally crashed Brad Keselowski, and then the next day, during driver introductions, Brad Keselowski was going to speak his mind and speak it to the entire crowd. Even after all of this, when Kyle Busch won the race, it was even more controversial in the media center.
Are so loving. Thank you. Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 Double Mint Camry, ready to win it again.
Brad Keselowski, driver of the Penske Racing Dodge. Kyle Busch is an ass.
Bubba Wallace
was fast, and he was good. And I'm not going to say why I beat him, because then he'll fix it, but it has to do with behind the wheel.
Next question. Go ahead, Marty.
He wasn't driving the place right. I'm sorry. If he fixes how to drive this place, he'd be right there with me. I know. Well, I got because there's going to be some big deal in the media.
The rear, they were working on that left rear, and then Kyle pulled away, and the tire is off the left rear.
That was the audible. Kyle wasn't aware that the crewman had got to the left rear to take his tire off.
Rear, that tire. He knows there's a problem. They've told him that they have no lug nuts on the left rear, and there the tire comes off.
His right front tire, the wheel breaks. He narrowly misses the end of pit road, but he is still on the lead lap.
Uh-oh, caution is out. Now that is near the stadium section.
Bubba Wallace.
And there is Bubba Wallace.
I think they were trying to get it back, obviously just nursing it back around. If there's the lug nut falls off, and here comes the wheel. Pretty self-explanatory. And why is the penalty so steep? Because of that right there. You see that wheel flying off. That wheel cannot.
From turn 4.
Okay, he'll be coming into the picture here very shortly. There he is by himself. And all at once the car just slides up into the wall.
Yeah, that looked like a tire was cut down. He never turned the wheel. When he started off the corner, it went directly up. The right front corner would not work. Watch this. You hear him out?
He does hit that wall hard. Oh, what a tough break for the three-time champion.
Pit stops under this caution flag, and Kenny Irwin is first out of the pits, the pole sitter.
Jeff Gordon had plenty of bad hits in his NASCAR career, and this was probably the very first one that really got him. And it was at Texas when he would pop a tire coming out of turn number 4, and he would slam into the concrete outside wall, and I would assume it knocked the breath out of him and much more. Thankfully, Gordon was okay after this wreck, but this was the first of many of horrible impacts that Jeff Gordon would have in his entire NASCAR career.
Knock my breath out. Here comes Benson on the bottom. Fuller and Rick Wilson. Fuller. Oh, no. And tumbling goes Randy LaJoie over the hood of the 92 Larry Pearson. There goes the page. Back to the line. And it is Chad Little leading Jimmy Spencer to the line. A horrendous pileup out of turn 4.
Right there, the back end starts around.
That's classic pull the air off of my spoiler right there.
Look at Johnny Benson here. How in the world did he get by this?
And Labonte turns around. Oh, Terry. Off of Elton Sawyer, and up goes Randy LaJoie.
I didn't even see Terry in that.
In 1995 at Talladega, Randy LaJoie would flip, and he would flip coming out of turn number 4, and he would start barrel rolling on his roof. He would slide all the way down the short chute at Talladega, and then land in the grass. Ultimately, this wasn't a very bad flip, as it could have been much, much worse, but several cars in this accident had massive impacts. And something else I would also like to point out, when they were coming off of turn number 4, there was a car almost at a dead stop on the apron, so this crash could have been a lot worse than it really was.
Now here we have a problem. You have to be running 65 miles an hour just to stay up on the banking, so when a car stops up on the banking, that's a 31-degree banking. That's as steep as the roof on your house. So recovering that car is going to be a little tricky.
If I'm locked in the top 35, I want to race good, and I think that's what Carl Edwards and some of these Roush
by a couple of lengths.
3 wide.
And look at
changing lane.
Benedetto almost got into Logano and holding up Austin Wayne Self. Meanwhile, Colby Howard in the 91 comes by.
Is he going to turn him?
They're stuck.
Damper brakes, swerve it, bet you
They're
can.
literally stuck.
They are stuck together.
I've never seen that.
I don't think I've ever seen it either. Wow. We're just parked over there in turn 2 at this point.
And the caution is out.
Well,
just when you say I've seen it all, you see something new.
That's when the cookie sticks to the pan. And you're like, man, how'd this happen? Like 10 inches or so, and you can easily get apart. This is just like a perfect storm of what?
They've stopped all the trucks, red flag on track, and we're unable to get them apart. And there you see.
Has he got water pressure now? I don't know if he will.
This is by far one of the strangest cautions we've ever had in the NASCAR Truck Series. And of all things, it's on Bristol dirt. Somehow these two trucks, when they got pushed nose to tail, they actually locked bumpers literally with their roll bars that would be sticking out of their vehicles, and they ended up getting stuck together where NASCAR had to throw a caution and then effectively throw a red flag so they can unhook these two trucks to help them be able to continue on the race. This was on Easter weekend of 2022, and it was definitely one of the most unforgettable moments that I've ever seen in the Truck Series.
Something going on up on the hillside hospitality area overlooking turn 1, and you see the drivers racing through that smoke. It doesn't have anything to do with what's going on the racetrack. We'll see if we can find out exactly what it is here in a minute.
Well, that's got to be unsettling for the drivers to drive through that, dude. I promise you, at 190 miles an hour entering that corner, already treacherous conditions to start with. Somebody telling you everything's okay. Caution's out.
Caution's out. Caution's out.
And it is for the smoke, and just that, not having the drivers racing through that reduced visibility.
The caution is out at Michigan. We have a new track mascot. I'm not sure. It's not a beaver. We've ruled out beaver. I'm not sure. A giant squirrel, maybe, huh?
It does look like a really big squirrel.
They've got a scoop shovel out. Now, I'm going to tell you, the last time we went through this, Michael, you and I were at Bristol for the trucks. There was a squirrel. Now we've got confirmation it's a groundhog. Will a groundhog bite you if you put it in a bad situation?
I'm not going to wait and find out.
This is really going to get good. He's got. All right, we're going to go to break. We'll keep an eye on the groundhog.
Still putting my money on the groundhog.
He's still on the loose. Why does this always happen? Oh, they got him. How many safety workers at a racetrack does it take to catch a groundhog that's on the loose? And we don't have an official. Oh, he's gotten away again.
I didn't have a good feeling about it. I told you, I'm still putting my money on the.
They were trying to relocate the groundhog, and he's on the run once more.
That groundhog just wasn't feeling that bucket.
But he said entry stability is their focus here as we finish up, and the groundhog continues to win this race in practice.
Oh, this is a trash can.
Trash can.
That's a barrel.
Oh, don't hit it.
Uh-oh.
I feel good about it. I feel good about it. Oh, he went and got him. He went down and got him, that fella there in the vest. Hey, celebrate good times.
That's all he needed was a bigger bucket.
And the celebration in the garage right of your screen.
Something you don't expect at a NASCAR race is animals all over the racetrack, but it happens more times than not. And at Michigan one year, there was a loose groundhog on the track, and it took so long it felt like for them to capture this thing. They finally were able to get him squared away, and they were able to get him off the racetrack so they can continue practice. But this was one of the most hilarious things that's ever happened in a NASCAR practice session.
Outside lane, hanging tough here on the restart.
Oh, here we go.
Got trouble. That's Casey Kane. It goes sideways. Joey Logano nowhere to go.
Oh, my. Half the field is gone.
The big one at Daytona has happened at lap 97.
That is the huge one at Daytona.
Justin Allgaier.
Oh, the
Denny
18
Hamlin.
gets on its roof.
Kyle Busch rolls upside down.
Just having a good old time over here. Just hanging around. Okay. Just stay buckled up. Let them get you flipped over here.
That's Kyle Busch.
Right here. She and the 2 car of Brad Keselowski. Wow. That 1 car's up in the air right there.
All 4 tires were off the ground.
One of the biggest crashes of the 2014 season saw when Greg Biffle got to Casey Kane and sent him around into the pack creating a massive accident entering turn number 3 at Daytona. They were racing really hard because rain was in the area, and when the rain comes, it would basically essentially end the race, so everybody wanted to gain any track position they could have. Well, Kyle Busch got flipped over upside down and had to sit there until the safety workers were able to come flip him back over and get him out of the race car. It was pretty weird.
So just radioed his crew, big trouble on the track, Rick.
Yeah, the 70, Derek Cope, a lot of damage to the front of that race car. The hood flew off, it looks like. But a lot of bracing damage also underneath the hood, and the caution comes out now for the 6th time.
It's got a flat right front tire and the hood's off this car. It's obviously had some sort of issue.
Hood not off, and he's missing the bus stop. Oh my goodness.
Up and that thing just exploded, the whole nose of it. I don't know what that was.
He was slowing down through the bus stop.
I'm going to admit, Rick, I am baffled.
So why don't we race in the rain in NASCAR on these big super speedway ovals? Here's one reason.
You can't even run on the banking at 55, 30 miles an hour.
Track drying efforts continue.
I'm going to paint the picture for you on this one. Coming down to the final few laps of the race, Tony Stewart led rookie Regan Smith down the pack at Talladega. This would ultimately be one of the biggest controversial moments in NASCAR history. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but Tony Stewart would intentionally push Regan Smith down below the yellow line, and Regan Smith would pass Tony Stewart. In the NASCAR rulebook back then, if you were pushed underneath the yellow line, the person who pushed you wasn't even going to be penalized. It was you, because you went below the yellow line. NASCAR has since changed that rule in the rulebook, but in 2008, it was different times, and Regan Smith got screwed out of a win at Talladega in 08.
A big push by the 5, and up the racetrack, he catches the 1. Chastain into the wall. Big contact, caution comes out again. Gabe Hart said, I only have one chance at a green-white checkered, as we see Austin Dillon shoving the 43 of Eric Jones. Chastain, the window net down.
As well, Rick. We knew someone was going to make it 3 wide. But behind them was 3 wide. But that right there, just Larson gets up the racetrack. He was pushing, it looked like he was pushing Hamlin.
Something
and he just lost the front.
Something sparks, Jeff. Watch the front of the 5. I don't know if he hits the apron. Something seems to spark when it turns right. Hard to tell from that angle, but from behind, it looked like the left front might have caught the apron, really shot the 5 up the racetrack. Take a look.
He's in the back of the 11 right here. Gets on the apron. That's the splitter hitting the apron, and now it doesn't turn.
I feel like Kyle Larson here was trying to be a hero. He was trying to show everybody that he was not going to take any crap from Denny Hamlin. Just a few weeks prior, Hamlin put him in the wall, so he was extremely upset, and he was ready to get redemption and wreck Hamlin. But this ultimately didn't work out for Chastain, as he would totally miss wrecking Denny Hamlin. In the process, he would collect Ross Chastain, who he's had run-ins with in the past before. So honestly, maybe it wasn't that bad for Kyle Larson. But what would ensue after this was even more cautions and more accidents. So this wasn't the first stupid thing that happened at Nashville in 20.
Hurt us badly. So
strong top 5 finisher this afternoon, and wait a minute, Jimmy Johnson.
I was inside of you. I was inside of you. Please don't pull.
Ran into the back of me.
Dude, I was inside of you. I was inside of you.
You better watch it.
Dude, if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it.
I just did. Johnson wants a little bit more of this conversation. NASCAR officials now.
Well, this is not the winner.
I've never been wrecked by a wrecker.
Natalie Decker they're trying to push Natalie Decker off the track after being involved in an incident, and then
Pushed her onto it. I think she wanted to turn on the pit road, and the record driver didn't realize that, and she was trying to hit the brakes, and he was on the gas. He was on the gas. Yep.
Debris on the racetrack, and the flames rolling out from the right side of the 7 of Alex Bowman.
You know, we've seen this before at the short tracks. The 7 had an issue with the right front tire. It looked like he melted the bead, came down pit road, got a new tire on it, but didn't clear all the old rubber, I'm assuming, off Well, no, I disagree. It's
yeah,
not
we're going to
out.
disagree. It is not out, and the driver's climbing out of the car. That's Alex Bowman jumping out of there.
I think he was telling him to get out. At least that's what he needed to be telling him.
Yeah.
And what happens
there's
is
a fire suppression system under there that will try to help put that out.
It tries to help, but that fire is what was left of the flat tire on the right front brake rotor. These brake rotors are ridiculously warm. And what happens is after you remove the old tire and put the new one on, if there's still some strings or some cords on there, that's really just like a wick to a candle. And once it hits that hot rotor, you see what happens.
This was just a disastrous moment. The car was already on fire for Alex Bowman when he drove the 7 car, and he drove out of his pit stall, then realized, I guess, hey, the fire is not going out, stops the car, tries to put it in reverse, and nothing happens. Alex Bowman would then exit his car for safety reasons as the ambulance would arrive to help him out and put the fire out. The funniest thing is the firefighter, the fire extinguisher guy, tripped and fell when he tried to use the fire extinguisher. This was just an entire disaster moment for Alex Bowman and NASCAR's safety team.
Chase about a car length ahead as they're closing in on the 9. He's going to go up and block the top of the racetrack. Big crash.
Denny Hamlin involved.
Big
like
crash.
Noah Gregson, Austin Cindric. This is what we talk about. Compromised track position, and you get right in the middle of it.
There's a lot of contact right there. As Christopher Buescher lifts off the gas, the 7, all those cars behind him, they all just make, they just run in the back of each other. Big accordion effect. They caught the 9 so quickly down the back straightaway.
And I thought for sure he would go around. 3rd car outside lane, but he's able to hang on to it. Reddick does the same, and then the crash is on behind him.
That was such a great shot as they were just coming at you. You see him kind of just dart out of line.
Oh, Kyle Busch just getting caught in the right rear quarter panel late.
During the 2025 Atlanta race, the first race of the in-season NASCAR tournament, there was a massive crash that collected almost the entire field on the backstretch. This was so early on in the race, we still had like over 180 laps to go, something that rarely happens at super speedway races. You never really see wrecks that involve so many cars very early on. But it happened in Atlanta, and it was one of the craziest things that's ever happened in that track's history, in my opinion. But if you want to talk about something crazy that has never happened at a racetrack except for this one time, it was during the 2012 Daytona 500 that was actually run on a Monday when Juan Pablo Montoya was driving to catch up to the back of the field after making a pit stop on a caution. Something in the rear of his car broke, sending him sliding into a jet dryer. Yes, you heard that right, a jet dryer that should be drying or cleaning off the racetrack. When Montoya's car would hit it, it would engulf in flames and start burning and causing a massive fire. This fire you were actually able to see from Jimmy Johnson's plane that was currently in the air because he was going home after crashing early on. Juan Pablo Montoya's day may have ended here, but the night was still very long and NASCAR had an extensive cleanup after this.
I just wonder what it's going to do to the racetrack.
Well, here comes the fire crew. You see the red truck bottom of the screen. They've got to get that out because that fire could damage the racing surface.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, you got fuel, it's on fire. It could eat that asphalt right up.
It is commonplace for track safety, rescue, track drying vehicles to circulate the track under a caution flag. Drivers must maintain reasonable speed while catching up the pack and avoid those emergency vehicles. They're brightly lit and everything. That's easy to do when you can be under control of your race car.
I just wonder if Montoya was going down the back, catching up with the field, and he didn't know the safety truck was up there. They called him on the radio and said, "Watch that safety truck," and the car darted hard right. Something had to happen.
I saw sparks underneath. The car broke, and I don't believe he had steering control.
I don't either. I mean,
when the car went up the track.
When you see the sparks come out from under the car, it just looks like it had a flat tire or something happened to it. I don't know how many gallons of jet fuel that thing holds, but I guarantee you it's got several gallons in it. Probably 100.
Track personnel exited that cleanup truck very quickly after the collision